Hey everyone, it's Chris from Line Punch Forge. Today we're going to do a little video on the X-Link Mandrel. This fella is a lot of fun because it takes and simplifies a multi-directional loop-and-loop chain and creates one link. So this is what you end up with. And let's talk about the mandrel. So this fella here has a hole on either side. I'll be pointing to that here in just a second. Right there. And then one on the other side, right there. And what those are for is to take your wire, insert it into that hole, and then bend it around so it stays in place as you wrap. The cool thing about this particular mandrel is that it makes one link where typically you would want two links if you were to do this traditionally. Now, what I'm using right now is, so it's 20 gauge fine silver and it's annealed. So as I'm wrapping this around my mandrel, I'm going to use one of my purple punchers to help kind of conform it. And you'll see here, pushing and twisting and pushing and twisting. And you're going to slowly wrap this fella around this X-shaped mandrel, and you're going to end up with some fun looking links as soon as we pull it off here. So I'm not going to let you watch too much of this pushing and weaving and dodging and picking and all that kind of fun stuff, but you get the idea. So we're wrapping our fine silver wire around this mandrel. The reason why we're using a fine silver and a 20 gauge is that it works best for the type of weaving that we're going to be doing here. Traditionally, with a lot of loop and loop chains, 20 gauge is about what they do. You can use 18 gauge fine silver. You're just going to end up with maybe some frustrations with some of the weaving processes later on, but it can be done. You can use 22 gauge. It's just going to be a little bit more fine and it's going to be maybe a little bit more troublesome. So 20 gauge is what I recommend for this particular type of chain. I've used 18. It's okay. I haven't used 24. It's just too flimsy for me, especially for a chain that's going to be on somebody's wrist or neck. So here we go. We're just twisting and we're pushing and we're twisting and we're pushing. I'm going to go ahead and add in some music here and do a little speed montage so you don't have to listen to me talk and, well, you watch me twist this wire around the mandrel the entire time. So if I didn't say it already, the reason why we're doing a voiceover on this is because my audio didn't record, but I did record video and I really didn't want to waste my whole day by doing it all over again. So here we are doing a voiceover, and thank you for sticking with me, watching me work. We'll get into a couple more fun little details here soon. Alright, I've finished with my wrap. I'm just taking my purple puncher and kind of pushing around, trying to conform that mandrel to the wire, or wire to the mandrel rather. And I'm going to give you a little tip here. Now that I got all my wire on there, you can take a little bench block. I prefer wood, so like the edge of a desk, the edge of a countertop, and you can press it against that mandrel to kind of help conform to that X shape. Here in a second, you'll see me take and press it against a little dapping block and help kind of conform that a little bit more to the mandrel shape. Here we go. Where we got? Yeah. So the edge of a desk, countertop, something like that works. I don't like using a sharp edge because I don't really want to dent or distort the wire. all I want to do is kind of like push it into that a little bit more. And I can just use my purple puncher. So Next, we're going to go ahead and snip this thing off. So I'm going to snip off exactly where I want the end, and then I'm going to be snipping off where I had kind of threaded my wire through. Then we can get into pulling it right off the thing. Alright, now that we've got our snip here, you're going to kind of, you can either cut them while they're on the mandrel. I don't necessarily like doing that just because I have to manipulate my snips and my mandrel at the same time. Once you cut the threaded end that's in the hole, it should slide off relatively easy. You're going to see me do that here in a minute. And what we're going to talk about is once you have your coil of these X-shaped little slinky, you're going to probably cut it kind of wherever your preference is. I like cutting it right in the kind of inside area, right in here. Right in there. Yeah, see me? My point with the scissors? Yeah, they're right there. That's where I like to cut it. And then I can either fuse it, I can solder it, or like you're going to see me do in this video, I'm going to weld it. Fine silver loves to be fused, loves to be welded, and it accepts solder. So that's what we're going to be doing here, is doing a bit of welding. Before we get into a little bit of welding and cutting, I figured we'd do a little quick montage of me playing with my slinky. So this is coils coming off of that mandrel. Yeah, there you go. There they are. All right, now that you've seen my slinky off of the mandrel, you're going to see here kind of where I cut them. See right at that edge there? I like to cut it right there because it kind of hides as soon as you start doing your weaving. And that, for me, provides kind of the best place to do that. Now, since I'm welding, I don't necessarily need to worry about a super clean solder joint. If you're fusing, you don't necessarily need to as well. For me, this is the easiest method for the welding process, which is snipping. Some of the flush cutters will actually provide a pretty nice joint, especially with this fine silver material. Some of the thicker sterling, other materials like that can have a little bit more of a burr, but I find that fine silver works pretty well with shears like these. I'm not sure which brand these shears are, but they're a jewelry grade. They're not like a Joyce Chan or something like that, but they work. They work really well. So I'm just going to snip them all in the same place, and then I will have a large pile of links, and then I'm going to show a little video of me working with the welder. You're not going to be able to necessarily see or hear what it sounds like, but I'll give you a real quick nice montage of welding. You see some flashes and that kind of stuff, and I'll get a little zoom in for you. So there we go. All my links, all in a pile, ready to be welded, fused, or soldered. Stay tuned for my rookie mistake here. I'm going to try and weld without having a grounding clip attached to my link. It's my first time doing this. Sure feels like it. Here we go. So all I need to do is look through my microscope, and you see a little tiny tack here. There we go. And what that's doing is fusing both sides of that silver link together to create a solid link. As I'm working, I'm kind of looking at my link, the weld that happens and the fusion that occurs, and determining whether or not I need to increase my power or decrease my power, and figure out exactly what's going to work best. Now on my first link here, what I'm going to be doing to make this easy is you're going to see I'm going to create this shape here where it's kind of everything's pushed together, and I'm going to weld the bottom portion of that X area together so that when I'm making my first link, it doesn't move all over the place. This is something that you can do with soldering or fusing. I found that this method works really well for kind of capturing everything and making sure that it stays in place as I'm weaving that first link. After you have the first link done, it gets a lot easier after that. It's just that first one that is really a pain in the tuchus. Let's call it a tuchus. Pain in the tuchus. So here I am welding that bottom area. Yeah, that's it. And then I'm going to be welding all the other areas as well. So we'll go ahead and skip to the next part and just do a little montage, because this gets boring watching this flash, link, flash, link, flash, link. I'm already bored. Let's go ahead and speed this up. I couldn't find my chain making all or brass burnisher, so I had to make one real quick. This is one that I sell on my website. Should be able to focus here in a second. It's got a vintage knob on it, and then I thread it and place a tapered piece of brass on there. What it's going to end up doing for this particular job, it's going to elongate some of those holes that right there. So I'm going to elongate those so that I can thread the next link through. Just like that. And that's going to make it more simple for me to thread the next one in. So here's me just doing the reaming. And now I have a little link that looks like that. Now the next portion here, I have my big old pile of links. I've got some parallel jaw pliers, my little reamer or chain making awl, whatever you want to call it. And now I'm going to take and I'm going to bend my first link together, just like this, kind of push them together. And then I'm going to start weaving that next link into that first welded or soldered link that I made. Please excuse my hands because it's really hard to record this type of stuff and not have your hands in the way. Let's see if we can try and get a good picture of it's going to go through there, and then you're essentially going to weave all four of those into the little wings on either side. And in doing that, you're going to start to create what you're going to see here in a second, which is those links all woven together. I'm going to have some tips here in a few minutes, particularly the one around about sticking the rod through the center of each of those links as you weave them is particularly helpful. So as you see here, I'm attempting to squish down one of the links with my parallel pliers so I can kind of pull it through with my my awl, and then be able to weave in the next link. So this next part can be a little tedious, just kind of trying to weave that first one in. You see here, like I said, the first one's the most difficult. Alright, we're going to try an over the top view here. You can see that I have a couple of those links kind of woven in. Right now it just kind of looks like a mess, a little bird's nest of weirdness. But as soon as you start to get maybe 4 or 5 links in there, you'll start to see that it actually comes together quite nice once you start doing the weaving. Here we are trying to keep my fingers out of the way. I'll be bending that link into the hole of the next one and then bending it up. You'll see me either try and compress the link going in a little bit more or use my awl to try and elongate the hole, round it out a little bit more so that that link will slide in nice. And like I said, once you start getting maybe 4, 5, 6 links in there, it starts to get a lot easier. You have a little bit more to hang on to. I'd like to see trying this process starting off with the rod that you're going to see here in a little bit and see if that process actually speeds up anything. So here you can kind of see coming together a little bit. Once you start getting a little bit more in there, it'll start coming together. Here's me reaming that hole out a little bit more, try and get that next link in there. Again, excuse my hands and my hairy knuckles. It's hard to get them out of the way. Those of you with, big hands, you'll know. You know what I'm talking about. Alright, so here's 4 links all put together, showing that it equals about 1 inch in length. And remember, like we said earlier, 3.5 inches of wire, 20 gauge wire, equals 1 link, and 4 links woven together like this equals about 1 inch of chain. So that's a real quick for you. Here I'm just playing with a wire. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Here, we'll just speed this up a little bit. Quick tip: when you're trying to get these all woven together pretty quick, take some time to batch process everything. See how I have the one link not squished together and all the other links squished together? The squished together links are going to help you weave faster because that's a process that you're going to need to do every single time. So if you want to try and weave this and do this relatively fast, I recommend doing batch processing like this. It's a technique that works really well when you're doing production type jewelry or anything, tool making, anything that requires a lot of repetition and a lot of steps, but there's a lot of the same step. Make sure you all the way through the process. Just makes it so much more simple. All right, so I've got my long woven kind of link here on a titanium rod that I found. This is 1/8 inch diameter titanium rod. You can use brass or copper or whatever you have laying around, but I find that this works really well for kind of holding it all in place while you're doing your weaving, and it's kind of satisfying to to like little stretch it and twist it, and you can use that to kind of press it down with your fingers to make it more even. Here you see me creating a link. I'm going to curve it slightly downward, and that slightly downward link is going to slide on to the rod. Here you get a good look at exactly what the weaving looks like. So it's going to go onto the rod. It's going to go on top of each one of those mandrels or those links, and then it's just going to push up on one side, feed it in, push up on the other, and then just repeat that process all the way around. all four of the little wings get pressed into the wing below it and then pulled up just like that. And then it gets woven again, another link right on top of that. So I find that this is a new discovery for me. I find that this works really, really well for holding all that into place, and it can help you make a nice uniform chain. Now, once you have your chain done, I'm just giving a little quick measurement how much I have, about 4 inches here. 4 inches means that I have 4 links, 4 times 4, 16 links probably, unless my math is off. 4, 4, 16, 12. No, that should be about right. Yeah, I think that's right. Math is hard. So right now I have just probably a little bit longer to go. I think I want to go with a 5-inch, and then the chain that I'm going to add to this to kind of create a closed bracelet will end up just kind of going into those links. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, now that I've gotten my chain about the length that I want it, it's time to take and my in loop there, I'm going to arrange all 4 of my links in the same direction so that, oh, hi, Katie. So I can go ahead and stick a jump ring on that. Once there's a jump ring on it, I can feed in a couple extra jump rings to make a little extension chain or something like that. No, Katie. Hang on a second. Kitty wants out. All right, we're back. So we can feed a couple jump rings on there to kind of make an extra link. Here I'm just playing with the idea of maybe a paperclip chain, but I think this particular one is going to work a little bit better with a large oval or a large round link, and then I can just kind of thread on my clasp. You'll see here in a second. But by pushing those links together in one direction, you end up making a nice kind of closure for that entire chain. Just when you thought you wouldn't have a video with my bearded mug in it, I go ahead and make it all okay again by showing you the beard and the X-Link Mandrel. And this is what the finished product looks like. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. This is essentially how to use it. There's all sorts of different variations and fun things that you can do. You can see me pointing to the little jump rings there and the clasp that I put on the end. Makes nice. You can also put it through a draw plate. Typically one made for chainmail, a wood one or a Delrin one. I'll be making one relatively soon, but you can pull that down to make it a little bit tighter of a link, tighter braid. And I'll have some additional videos showing a little bit more of that process. But this is a basic on how to use the mandrel, how to do the weave, and it gives you an idea of exactly what the product is on the website. So if you are interested in making this type of chain, please head over to lionpunchforge.com and check out the X-Link Mandrel. And here I'm going to have my face right in the middle of the bracelet. Wait for it. Wait for it. Here it comes. There. Yep. Oh, yeah. Right in the middle. Perfect. You guys have a great day and do something nice for somebody. We'll talk to you soon.